Welcome to Alex and Annie, the Real Women of Vacation Rentals. I'm Alex.
And I'm Annie.
And we're joined today with Greg Fisher from TripShock. Greg, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Very excited to have you here today. So, Greg, you've been just a role model and a friend and a mentor to me for the last several years, and have learned so much from you. And just watching your growth with TripShock has been so exciting. But for our audience that isn't familiar with you or with the company, can you just tell us a little bit about what you've done and what your history in the industry has been?
Sure. So TripShock is a online tour and activity marketplace. We're an OTA, and we cover most regions in the Southeast. We partner with activity, attractions, rental, boat rental companies, and we resell their products for a commission. So it's like, similar to Expedia's model. We've been around this is our 14th or 15th season. I'm losing track here. I started the company really young, didn't know really what I was doing. I knew that there was kind of a need in the market of consolidating amenities and then reselling them in a one-stop shop type booking system or booking place. So started there in Destin, Florida, actually, and we developed it soon to Panama City Beach and Gulf Shores. Obviously, we expanded it to Myrtle Beach. That's where I met Alex. And then, now we're just kind of taking over the South, going into new markets that we feel are good fits. A lot of them are vacation rental based markets, because we see like the family activities seem to be just really popular. People are really looking for outdoor excursions. So that's kind of the gist of it. For me, I studied tourism at University of Central Florida. And I literally went from college to a front desk job to TripShock like really fast. And in fact, like that short time working in hotels, that's how I figured out, the model for TripShock and started massaging it, because people were coming to the front desk asking for ideas for tours and activities. And I said, okay, well, there's got to be a better way to get these people to these activities, but also, my staff should be able to make a little extra for referring these, because, they have choices. So if there was a choice that gave them an extra couple dollars and there was a better way to keep track of it, then that's when, I started thinking. And then I partnered with a local businesswoman and we started TripShock. So the rest is kind of history from there.
It's so exciting. So we know each other through each other, or through other people, and obviously Alex, but been in the Panhandle since the 90s, and worked at front desk and marketing for different resorts. And there was always a struggle, is the different attractions and trying to kind of organize them into a good fashion. And I remember when you first came out with it, I was like, I always say that everybody has $1 million idea in their head. Just got to get it out there. And I just thought it was brilliant. And to watch what you've done with it and where you've taken it. And again, Alex and I have noticed that there's all these really great ideas and entrepreneurs and technology advancements that have come out of the Panhandle. So again, you're just another.
I don't know what's in the water down there, you guys.
Yeah, it's another bright spot for our destination, and I love what you've done with it. So kudos to you for putting it out there. I think it was something that needed to be done, and I'd love to know. There had to be some challenges early on, because again, you said you were young and you were trying to work with a piece of the industry that maybe wasn't as organized and refined in their communications and technology. So how do you think that you were able to get that all organized and make it what it is today?
Yeah, it's a good question. So basically the first like 4 or 5 years went extremely slow, because I'm young and my business partner at the time wasn't very involved. So it was just kind of one business at a time. And sometimes I had to do things differently, such as sometimes I had to buy the tickets in advance because they didn't trust me on a credit relationship. Sometimes I had to pay weekly, or even every couple of days I had to pay out, our partners for the trips that we booked. So it was all about, just coming in the middle with their concerns and getting them on, because once that other tour operator sees their competitor on my site, then they're like, okay, I want to be part of this too. So though, like I said, the first 4 or 5 years is really tough trying to develop and show that, I'm a trustworthy business person, and I'm going to do the right thing. Because, there's times where, I'm young and I'm collecting hundreds of thousands of dollars, and these people are trusting me that I'm going to pay that out, because we all know the OTA game. There are some bad players.
Yeah.
One bad player, Annie, in our neck of the
Right on
woods,
my, yep.
that,
Yeah.
that they took the money and they floated and they never paid people back.
Right.
So those OTAs, and there's a number of them that did that, really hurt my chances of really taking this thing, to the next level faster, because I couldn't change my system easily, because my technology was built around that model. But, as soon as I started building trust and people knew that they were going to get paid, that I'm going to deliver on what I told them to, sometimes like going the route of the nice and honest person comes out good in the end. You just have to stay true to that path.
Right.
Yeah. And I remember
it always wins, I feel.
Yeah, for sure. Greg, I remember one of my favorite stories that you told us when you first came up to visit in Myrtle Beach and start working in this market. You said that when you were having challenges getting these fishing charters onto the platform, you would go and you would wait for them to come back from being out at sea, and you would bring them coffee, and like you would do these different things, and you did it every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like that's what it builds that trust, but it also, those are the things that you have to do early on to get to scale. That those are things that they definitely don't scale. You can't be doing that every day now, but the impact that made early on, it's worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what came first as you were building it? Because at 10 years, was it 10 years ago, probably 2000?
About 13 years, 2009.
Okay, wow. So technology just in general was nowhere close to where it is now, but what came first? I mean, did you build the website and then build the technology after, or did it kind of go hand in hand? Or it's amazing to me to think how you knew what to build on the technology side, since that didn't exist. I mean, there weren't platforms like that, or in our industry back at that time, there were property management systems. They're not nearly as advanced as they are now, but I mean, you kind of got into that so early that had to have been a challenge figuring out what your needs even were.
Yeah. So you're going to laugh at this, but, I worked in hotels, so I had access to all the OTAs and their back ends.
Oh yeah.
So when I was on my way out of the hotel, when I knew I was going to, go work, and start TripShock, on my way out, I went into all the extranets and I screenshotted every single one of them. So I reverse engineered, and that's how we built our extranet, is basically by looking at what they have done. Now I had to modify the crap out of it because hotels are different than tours.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah. I got the basic foundation. So, I cheated a little bit, but honestly, that's every business does a little bit of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And your company has been remote since day one, right? I mean, you don't actually have you have an office, but you don't have call center staff. They're all remote. That's incredible too, because a remote business back in those days was kind of unheard of. So how did you make that decision to go that route and know how to even get started?
Well, I'd say like the first 3 years we did have an office. And I worked kind of in and out of the office. But in 2014, we went completely remote.
Okay.
So we knew how to handle the pandemic pretty well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. But it's funny because so many people just couldn't believe that we could operate remote with a call center. And they're like, well, how do you know that they're going to answer the phone and this and that? And I mean, when people work for a company, they truly want to impress their superiors. Like, they want to perform, they want to move up, they want to make more money, and they know they're not going to achieve that by cheating the system. And honestly, it's pretty easy. If someone's not doing their job, you're recording all the phone calls, so you can hear what's going on in the background, or you can see what, how many calls they answer, pick up a day. So it's easy to track the metrics. So if they're gonna do shady things or skip out, it's going to be caught pretty quick.
So from that, you obviously had to work on creating a guest experience, but you weren't interacting with the guests directly, right? It was more about on the phone and then getting the information to the front desk. Is that how that would play out?
When it comes to making reservations on
Well, just,
behalf
I guess,
of the,
yeah. So I guess, so I guess maybe explain to me how it all works. Cause I've never shopped it before. So I don't know exactly if someone calls TripShock or books on, how does that actually work? Is it just like an OTA where they don't
Yeah.
actually speak to a person, or they can speak to a person?
they can speak to a person. In fact, that's the thing we do a little bit differently is we train salespeople. I know a lot of OTAs, they prefer to have a small call center and to push people to book online. I get it from like a, a sky high view of
Yeah.
like a large, but for us, I have 2 kids, and when I go to book something, a lot of times, especially since the activity industry is a cottage industry and like well-built websites still, yeah, they're starting to get online booking and so forth, but the business owners themselves are not marketers, or they don't have marketing departments. So, they're not displaying a lot of the information as well as it could be displayed, but they're selling great experiences. So I try to really push my staff to study every single product and be, that salesperson that activity provider might not be able to be because they're on the boat or they don't have time to update the website as much. So we're in a really good position because these families, these moms, they are looking for information that is not going to be easily found. And they're talking to someone who likely has been to the area, that might have even been on that tour. And a lot of OTAs really can't provide that personalized service. Like right now, like our team, our agents, they're on a fam tour visiting different activity companies locally here, and they might go a little outside here, but they're visiting actively, talking to the owner, seeing the setups and learning the products firsthand. And I think that's a missing ingredient in business these days is we're selling marketing, but we're not selling sales.
Yeah.
When people are on the phones, I mean, you got them on the phone. Like you can not only sell them on the product they're looking for, but now you have an opportunity to upsell them. Where online, it's not as easily done because now as soon as they talk to you, they hear the person, they feel comfortable. I just think the phone's an amazing tool that like in 2022, I hope it gets put back into play a little bit because that's our secret ingredient. I think like 25% of our sales are by phone, which is significant in a world where, online bookings are so prominent.
Yeah, it's harder to say no to a person than it is the computer. But if you do need people to go out and experience future activities, things, Alex and I are available for spa visits. We certainly would like to test.
Yes, yeah, exactly. We'll go ahead and rate them, and then we'll tell our staff how great they are.
More than happy to.
No, it definitely, you're 100% right on that. And, our business, we definitely have a very big, section of business that books on the phone. I mean, we're still a heavy phone reservation system, and with so much online too, it just, what we do, there are a lot of questions, and I think probably the same thing in your industry that allows you to do the things that the other, your bigger competitors might not be able to do at scale. But I'm curious, do your agents, do they all live down in the Panhandle? Or
I'd say about 50% of them do.
Yeah. So how often do you take them to do these fam trips? Just whenever you get a new
I'd say twice a year.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And usually we focus on the most high volume tours we sell. We start there, and then we kind of branch off into other other markets that maybe might be newer or closer by. Obviously, it's expensive to bring your staff all the way to Myrtle Beach.
Right.
But we've taken some of our staff to Myrtle Beach before. So
yeah.
Well, with that, how do you replicate that knowledge and you scale your business into all these other markets? Because you guys have expanded tremendously from when you first started. It used to be just really, in the Southeast, right here along the Panhandle, but Myrtle Beach, I think you're doing New York now too, if I'm not mistaken. Are you up there or in some of the cities, or am I
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're in there, and we're kind of tiptoeing into some of these places, testing the waters. So yeah, that's a huge challenge actually, to train your agents on thousands of products. So when we launch a new product, there is like sometimes training courses depending on how in depth the product is, but we definitely post every single product in a Skype group where they have an opportunity during the day while they have like breaks in between calls, or sometimes we just kind of put them on pause and allow them to check out the listing, review it through the pictures, ask questions to our market managers about the product. So it's not just like we're adding products every day and there's no notification of them. Like there's a process of them can kind of put it into circulation. It's not the perfect process, but compared to other OTAs where probably they don't have any process, I think it's the best thing. And hopefully they can get to these locations, because some of our agents love to travel and we highly encourage them to go to markets that we have product in. And sometimes we do, credits or subsidies on their trips if they, detour and check out some of the activities.
Yeah, because sometimes it's more just about learning the destination than it is about learning the actual attraction, or for us, the accommodations, because those are the questions that you're gonna get. I mean, how close is it to this, or how easy is it to get around if I'm gonna be here first? That it takes a little bit more high touch than just looking at a map to answer those questions. But when you and I first met, Greg, we were going in opposite directions. That you were trying to get into Myrtle Beach and we were trying to get into the Panhandle. And I think that's how we connected on LinkedIn. We just saw a post that each of us was making. But one of the challenges that I know that we've had, and I think you have too, is that when you go into a new market, it's also about finding that balance of when you don't have supply there first, you've got to be able to, you need to get the interest from the guests, you need to pay for the marketing, but not having a lot of supply. I mean, you're going to be in the red for a while until you can get that to turn around. But what market has been not easiest, but maybe most successful new market that you've entered into, would you say?
So in the past 5 years, the most successful new market has been Hilton Head.
Really interesting.
And the reason why Hilton Head has been so successful is because it's all based on the operator. Mm-hmm. And when we go into a market, we try to find what we call an anchor partner. Mm-hmm. An anchor partner, usually really big. They have multiple products, they have multiple businesses, and all they care about is market share. They just want to take over that market. They want as many bookings that they could possibly get. They want to have all the exposure on every OTA, and they want to be number one placement. They're past that point where they're thinking about commission. They're just thinking about volume. Yeah. So we have a couple partners like that in Hilton Head. And when you have a partner like that and they really understand the importance of a partnership with an OTA, then you're not fighting back and forth with rates and Google ads and all this other stuff. You can just get the business. Right. And there's other markets where we partner with them, and then we have a laundry list of stipulations. We don't want to see you on Google. We don't want to see you here. Only book us on Sunday and Saturday at 4:00. I'm like, okay, well, come on now. Like, you got to release the purse strings a little bit for us. But that's, I think, what makes a good market is when the partners really want to partner with you just as much as you want to partner with them. Sometimes it's one-sided, and those relationships usually don't end well. Yeah. And getting that first anchor partner is so important, because like you said earlier, I mean, you get that first partner there, and then it becomes like a, roller coaster effect, just bringing the rest of them on. They just start coming. So that's good advice.
Do you have any markets that you've gone into that you just got in and you were like, oh gosh, I wish we hadn't, or, that it just fell flat, or maybe it took you a lot longer to get established? Yeah.
Biloxi, Mississippi we currently are still there. We have a few products. And I'll tell you the issue with Biloxi. So Biloxi doesn't have a whole lot of product. So the operators that are there kind of have a monopoly on each category they sell in. So that is, first of all, that's the struggle. So we did partner with some, and they did exactly what I told you. They only gave us like Saturday at 4:00, Sunday at this time. And they didn't truly understand what like a partnership meant. And that hurt the ability for us to grow in those markets, because we're having to battle through the red tape of each partner. And every single one we sign up seemed to be the same situation. And Biloxi, Mississippi is not a market that is accustomed to OTAs. They are a casino market. They're very weekend heavy. The tour and activity companies there have been there for 30, 40 years. So innovating their marketing is not necessarily something top of mind for them. But when you go to a market with like Hilton Head and they have some young entrepreneurs, they understand online marketing, they're growing leaps and bounds, and they have just a very innovative approach to things. Like that's what we like to find. And I'll tell you, markets are defined by people like that. You know, if we can find good people to start with, because then we sign them up. And what happens is it's like this domino effect. All of their competitors, they want in because the anchor product's in.
Yeah.
There's a monkey see, monkey do. But when you don't get the anchor product in and you're getting all the outliers in, it's kind of tough because the outliers usually are really small, red tape. They don't understand it well. So
yeah, and you can't invest money in your marketing strategy or even the time to educate your sales agents if you're only having small gaps of inventory that you can book. I mean, that's the challenge for sure.
It's very similar to vacation rentals. Like Alex, I'm sure you feel the same. Like you want to go into a market and get the biggest and get all the inventory. You don't want to deal with all the red tape on marketing and advertising. Like I can't tell you how many times we get into a market, we sign a contract, and then a week later, they send us all these demands on how they want their products to be displayed on the site, what position they want to be, they don't want ads they don't want to compete, even though like some like ads we do are very like destination specific, like dolphin cruises in Destin, Florida. Well, you can't capitalize on that word. That's just those are just words that everyone can use.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
They don't want you there because they feel like you're increasing the cost
and
taking market share from them, even though there's like 7 other advertisers. So like these crazy demands make it difficult for us to move forward in these markets. So once we start seeing that, it's like kind of something triggers in us, like maybe we should hold off or wait until we find that partner. And they're out there. There's a lot. We have a lot of great ones, but you learn.
Yeah, absolutely. Who would you say is your biggest competitor? I mean, I know you can book attractions on TripAdvisor, but who else is out there that you compete against?
I would say TripAdvisor is our biggest competitor. I know we're like small potatoes compared to them, but as far as like the markets we're in, they're the only one that's really holding any weight against us. And
sorry.
No, they're big, but they don't go very long tail in their products. So they have like some of the bigger commercial stuff, like the attractions and like the bigger boating tours. But when they don't have like the jet ski rentals, pontoons, like the kayak tours in the swamps, like I call that like more long tail product that they need to have boots on the ground in order to sign those companies up. Right. So that's where we kind of will outdo them, but they're going to sell a lot more attraction tickets because their attraction listings are tied to the TripAdvisor profile. So they have a really great, lead generation program for bookings, which we're not going to compete against TripAdvisor. And
it's
we just booked for Chicago. We're going in early for a Verma, Alex. So my husband and I booked City Pass to do the attractions there. And that was interesting, but they didn't have a lot of offerings, kind of to your point. They had like the basics that everybody can get everywhere. And then you have to go digging like for each hotel to find some stuff. But what I liked is they send you like a QR code. So all of your attractions are loaded in this QR code, and you're a technology guy and you're like always thinking ahead. Is that something that you guys do or will do?
Not necessarily. No, that's a product we might sell, like the City Pass, but it's a brilliant product because it's all based on breakage. So they're hoping that you don't go to, 1 or 2 of those,
right? Yeah.
Because but I think it's great, and they usually partner with the anchor products in those cities. So they know that most people are going to go to this museum or this attraction. So they package them all up and they get a huge margin on them.
Oh, okay.
At the same time. But at the same time, they know you're not going to use them all. So they're going to make up that. I mean, if everyone used all 5 of those 6 or all 6 of those tickets, whatever it is,
Yeah.
they wouldn't make any money, but they know it in their numbers. I mean, I did one of those in Hollywood. I think we used like 2 of the 5.
Oh, really?
We just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I opted to go for the 3 instead of the 5 because I figured at that point we probably wouldn't do all 5. But I guess it's like the game of people that sell gift cards for stuff. They know, and I'm guilty of it. I get gift cards all the time and I don't cash them in.
Yeah,
So
they
free
expire. Yeah.
money. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
very similar to like Global Amenities. They have their, their amenity packages. They give
Okay.
you 4 free tickets.
Yeah.
They know that not everyone's going to use
Yeah.
all those. So it's a game of breakage.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense. So beyond TripShock, you've got a lot of other types of businesses and things that you're involved in. And one of those is a podcast, right? So the Awkward Water Sport Guys podcast. Tell us a little bit about that. Not that that's necessarily the business, but tell us about how that got started. And from that, what you've taken and how you've used that to network to come back and grow TripShock.
Yeah. So the podcast I started with one of our tour partners, Kevin O'Neill from Destiny Water Adventures. He's based in Fort Walton Beach, Florida. So we sat down and had lunch one day. Kevin just called me and wanted to chat about marketing. And every now and then I'll get with some of our partners and just have lunch. And we just talked about how there wasn't a voice for the water sport industry or just the boat rental industry. As benign as boat rentals are, you should have like some type of influencer or some type of community that all these businesses can come and talk about their problems together. Because, as easy as it might sound, there's a lot of regulations surrounding boating and renting boats.
Yeah.
And so we said, hey, well, why don't we start a podcast? Because podcasts were starting to become pretty big during the pandemic for whatever reason. So we got together, we started, talking about different issues. Kevin is a lot different than I am. He's very colorful. He swears and he has big opinions. And I'm kind of like the quiet, think it through type person. So, but we have so how people tell me it is like Kevin's Howard Stern and I am his assistant Robin. If you ever
I can see that.
I'm there.
Yeah.
But every now and then I can be a Howard Stern, but mostly it's Kevin. But we have a really good time together. Kevin will just do really crazy things, but he's really smart. Bottom line, Kevin, he comes off as silly on the show. But at the same time, we want to make it fun. We want to make it colorful. People are taking time out of their day to listen to us. So we want to make it interesting. So, and we talk about a myriad of topics. We bring, Alex was on the show. We talked about, vacation rentals. But we're trying to definitely mix it up a bit. In fact, we had James Garrettson. He was on the Tiger King. If you guys know the Netflix Tiger King, he's the jet ski guy. So in fact, he owns a water sport company in Marathon, Florida. So it was kind of ironic that was the case. But we really mix it up. But at the end of the day, it's really important to our industry to have, just conversations. Yeah. And we talk about safety. We talk about regulations. We talk about marketing. We bring on guests to talk about just being an entrepreneur. Kevin and I just will talk about, random things going on in our life, but people tell us how, they listen to us and how much it means to them that, they're working every day, day in and day out. No one really understands what they go through renting boats, the stress of renting to people, the stress of, saying no to somebody which could, turn into like a discrimination lawsuit. These are the things that are just that we think about, and there's not like a body or not a place where you can just hang your hat at, and turn on and just say, okay, these guys are like us. They're just like me. And we don't get a hell of a lot of downloads, maybe, 100, 150 downloads. So it's more of those. It's a very niche show because there's not thousands of boat rental operators, in the country. There's hundreds. So, but we're happy where we're at. And it brought us to actually we created a conference last year. And we had about 100 people come to the conference, and we did roundtables and things like that. So, if you're, no matter what you do, if it's vacation rentals or if it's boat rentals, there's probably some people just like you thinking the same things and looking for an outlet to share, their story. And we created that. We even have a Facebook group with about 500 people, and where we allow them to talk about, ask questions and, sell equipment and just kind of bring the industry together.
Yeah, no, I think you guys have done a phenomenal job with it. And, the advice Annie and I were given when we started ours was you want your show to be first entertaining and second informational. And that's certainly how your show is too. And I'm not in water sports, but I listen to all your episodes because I always learn something from it. And it is funny. I mean, Kevin is so off the wall different than you are, but the two of you complement each other really well. And it is definitely entertaining. The Tiger King one was insane, but maybe Annie, we need to get Carol Baskins.
I don't know. That guy doesn't like Carol.
Yeah. But no, I think it's been awesome seeing you do that. And actually, you said to me a year or two ago when you started yours, you're like, you ought to have a podcast too. And I remember saying, no, I don't think so. Like, I don't have the time, and I wouldn't know how to do it. I wouldn't know where to start. But somehow Annie came into my life and then we figured it out.
I'm to blame.
I'm glad that we did, because we enjoy it for the same reasons that you and Kevin do, that it's great to have these conversations because they are so important. And we've learned so much through doing this that we take back into our own businesses and our own lives. And it just enriches you and hopefully enriches the people that listen as well. But I think that the conference side of things is really interesting too. I mean, 100 people at that event you had last year, that's a good sized conference. You guys did a great job with that. But
even
really,
if we
really
make
exciting.
No money on the podcast, and we've actually had a couple sponsorships, but even if we had 0 sponsorships, I've been completely fulfilled because all the people we bring on the show, the people I get to meet, it forces me to meet new people because we have new guests all the time. Some of them are friends or colleagues or clients, but a lot of times it's people that I don't really know too well. And it's opened up a lot of doors for, TripShock. We've actually had a lot of people work with TripShock because of the podcast. So man, it's been really great. I mean, it does take, a few hours out of my week, but it's well worth it.
It goes back to something that you said to Alex and I the first couple of times we talked, that your network is your net worth, and the bigger your network is, the more your net worth can, opportunity to grow. It just for us, Alex and I, we've been given opportunities to meet people, but to speak with people that probably never would have taken our phone call, email, or even spoken to us at a conference. And now people reaching out to us and giving us opportunities to be part of other conferences. And it's just, it's a great thing. And if you are enjoying it, that's wonderful. And so you're giving a voice to an industry that didn't feel like they had a voice. So it was perfectly timed.
Yeah, I think you guys have always been, both TripShock and you personally have been an early adopter of things, and that really pays off. Kevin said in one of your latest episodes that he said there's a difference between an owner and a founder. And, Greg is a founder because, you've been in all sides of the business. You get your hands dirty, you do the things that don't scale, you do the things before other people will do them. And that, that makes a huge difference. So it's, like I said earlier, it's been exciting to watch the growth of TripShock and you and the podcast. And now there's one other topic we want to cover, which is just something that I've just been watching from afar and amazed, but I don't totally understand it. I don't think Annie does either, but no. You are really big into Web3 and NFTs and blockchain. And we would just love to hear your take on what you think the future is going to be with that and how it affects travel. But before we get there, if you can just give a NFT 101 for our audience.
The basics.
In layman's terms.
The basics.
The dummies version. NFTs for dummies, please.
All right, so let's do this. So NFT.
At first, I just thought you were posting pictures of fish on Instagram. So I have to put that out there.
Actually, do you see the fish on my hat? That's my fish. Okay, so you don't want to see my office. It's full.
That's one behind you, right? I mean,
that's a painting. I have
okay.
If I turn my camera, you're gonna laugh at me. But so maybe we'll say that for last. So NFT stands for non-fungible token, basically saying that a token that can't be duplicated. So when you purchase an NFT, this is a one and only piece of digital data or digital art, depending on what context of the NFT we're talking. And these, anytime that they are transferred or traded, like that is the one true, they have provenance. So NFT gets kind of skewed because it can mean multiple things. So NFT is really just a unit of data stored on the blockchain, which is a digital ledger. So digital art like JPEGs, like they can be an NFT. A contract or a document can be an NFT. A video can be an NFT. So, it can be multiple different things. Now, when you hear NFT in the news, most of it has to do with either music or digital art or pictures. Like you probably have seen the monkeys, Bored Apes. They're, they're selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's a whole other conversation. But, you can see where like most of the NFT slang is because of digital art. And that's kind of like what I do as a hobby is I buy and sell and trade and collect digital art. And the reason why it's big now and not 5 years ago is because now with the blockchain, you can actually denote ownership of that piece of digital art, where without the blockchain, I mean, we're just copying, pasting, and sending it. No one really knows who owns what. And the question you're probably going to ask me is, how does a piece of digital art get value? How does an NFT get value, right? Like, why is a picture of a monkey worth $300,000?
Exactly.
Yep.
It's no different than physical art. So let's say that your friend creates a beautiful painting and goes to, and this painting really should be worth $1 million, but they're at the county fair and people are walking by and saying, oh, that's wonderful. I only will give you $100 for it. So just imagine if Oprah Winfrey comes though through the county fair and sees it and says, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm going to give you $500,000 for it. She puts it into her personal art collection. That artist is now famous. Everything that they paint from now on is going to be worth $1 million. The same thing happens.
So let me start, because this is where I'm confused. So on digital, someone puts it up on the internet, that it becomes like it's out there and anybody can grab it. So how do you lock it so I don't go and take a screenshot, or it just feels like anybody could get this? That's why I'm so confused about this.
Yeah. So, well, let's ask you this. What if I went to, where's the Mona Lisa? What museum is in somewhere in Italy, right? I don't know.
Yeah, the Louvre.
Yeah. So what if I go and take a picture of the Mona Lisa and I put it on my Facebook, or I print it out, make a print of it? I mean, I can make it look just like the original painting if I had an artist, put some coat on it, whatever, but it's still not mine, right? Like the Mona Lisa is the Mona Lisa's. And it's the same thing with digital art. I can copy and paste it, but I don't have provenance to it. I don't own that piece of digital art. The owner is going to be the one that's on the blockchain that's confirmed with their wallet address.
But how? So I can take. Why couldn't somebody still just screenshot it? Because I mean, if it's
they definitely can.
Yeah.
But if I screenshotted it, I tried to sell it, I couldn't do that because the buyer would be like, well, this is not a blockchain. This is not, through the official collection.
Okay.
Also, that person has no IP rights to that art too. Like you get most NFT art, you get IP rights to it. So if I screenshotted it and let's try to, allow a business to use it for a commercial, well, I couldn't do that because I don't own the rights to it. You have to go to the true owner, which is validated on the blockchain.
So the way that these NFTs get popularity is if a celebrity actually buys them. Is that the only way?
Not the other way, but it's for some of them, yes. Like, Jimmy Fallon bought Bored Apes, Paris Hilton bought it, and Justin Bieber, they're all buying these certain collections and driving the price up. It's somewhat speculative, but they also get value from their utility they offer. So utility could be IP rights. Utility can be like getting a dividend or staking the NFT, which is like putting it into a safe place and getting rewards out of it. It can be access to events. Like Gary Vaynerchuk, he is doing an event. And if you redeem one of his NFTs, you get a ticket to one of his event. And some of his older Genesis NFTs, if you hold one of them, you get free access to all of his events. I mean, you got to pay thousands of dollars for it, but they're utilizing their NFT as a way to get access to them.
And you guys just did
So-
that at Arrival, right? When you were at that conference, that for your session, the people that were there, they could get a TripShock NFT.
So we created an Arrival NFT, and
An
if you
Arrival
went
NFT,
to our
okay.
session, you got the Arrival NFT, and basically it's a proof of attendance. So people that went got the NFT, and now I can actually look up on the blockchain and pull up all these addresses and that own that NFT. And I'm like, okay, well, I could send something to their wallet next year, like a, hey, here's a $100 gift card to this restaurant because you were at, the last event, and I have, you confirmed they're at the event because you received the NFT through the blockchain. That's kind of a bad example, but you can kind of see where you can do different. Once they own that NFT, you now know that for sure that they proved themselves if they were there, because you can't duplicate it. It's non-fungible. You can't copy and paste it, and they can't give it to somebody and fake it.
So they all got different ones, basically.
Oh, they all got this. It was actually an edition NFT. So
Okay.
there was the same one, but it's still like the same collection.
Okay, gotcha.
Or does
So
that mean
as-
that like art galleries are going to be like on your phone in the future? So when someone goes to your house, let me show you my NFT
Yeah.
collection.
Don't look at my walls, just look at my phone.
That's why I can't, because it's not something that it's not a tangible object, right? I mean, I know I've seen some that you can buy and you can trade it, like you were talking about Gary Vaynerchuk stuff, like you can trade it in for, I think Will did one with somebody that you could get a sweatshirt or a hat or something along those lines. But these NFTs essentially are just like, they're out there in the ether. That's a digital on your phone art like gallery, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it has a lot to do with the artist. It has a lot to do.
Yep, it's
with
exactly what you thought, Annie. That makes no sense, but okay.
And the value of the NFT is the same thing with almost anything else. Like the brand of the NFT has a lot to do with the value. Like if we had two cars right next to each other and one had a Mercedes sticker and the other one had a Kia sticker, there's going to be a $30,000 difference in that car.
Right.
And the same thing with NFT projects. If you see a monkey NFT project with the Bored Ape or the Yuga Lab brand, which is the company that founded that collection, then you have another one that looks similar with, the Kia, equivalent on that. There's going to be a different in price because these NFT collections are building brands around it. They're bringing in celebrities. They're creating entertainment value. The Bored Apes did a drop of their governance token where basically they just created a cryptocurrency. They dropped it to their holders, and the average holder got like $50,000 from it.
I guess
So-
it's hard to understand the assignment of value. I mean, with the Mercedes and a Kia, I mean, the difference is tangible, that it's a completely different built car. So I mean, it's not just somebody saying, oh, that one's worth this and that one's worth this. And then that people take that as face value. And even with art, I mean, there's a difference between artists, between, what they're painting and their skill set and who they are as an artist. They didn't just start from day one and somebody said, oh, you're good and you're not good. That's what's kind of hard for me to comprehend, I guess.
Okay, so we're completely confused. We don't know.
Yeah, and then my standing desk just decided to go down automatically.
It's saying it
You
gives up
notice
on
like
us.
you're
All
losing.
of a sudden,
your,
Greg.
so yeah, I guess the biggest thing is that you guys are looking at, like, because it's not physical, then how do you derive value to it?
Right.
And with Ethereum and digital products, you have to have a different way of thinking. I think we all can agree that some digital art is done by phenomenal artists, and they are due, the respect regarding like what they charge for it. We shouldn't look at the painting on your wall any different than a beautiful digital masterpiece or digital illustration. Like there's still value in that, but the difference between the physical and the digital is that with the blockchain and using a digital ledger, they can actually make it a make it non-fungible. So only one person can truly own that digital piece.
Okay. So how does this relate to travel, and what is going to be the future of how this will be used in the future, both NFTs and just blockchain in general? I know TripShock has already adopted some of this technology. So where do you see this going?
So I see a few things. One is let's just start like in the easiest kind of fundamental way of utilizing NFTs. So I think the easiest way to use NFTs is as digital souvenirs. So for an OTA, I can't give tangible things when people finish booking. I can give them gift cards, promo codes, stuff like that. But, NFTs allow me to do something, even more intelligent and intuitive. Like I can partner with a local artist and have them design 5 or 6 different NFTs of local landscapes, convert them to digital art, confirm them on the blockchain so they're official from that artist, and reward them for bookings and make it a game. So after they finish making their reservation, they can choose between a handful of different digital collectibles that they can put in their crypto wallet. And every year they can collect more of these NFTs and it can be fun. Like it's no different than collecting any other type of art, but it's digital and it's put on your phone. So, and the cool thing about it is that if they collect those pieces of art, now I have their wallet address. And your crypto wallet address is going to be like your new digital signature. Like right now, like as Web2 marketers, we are looking for emails, like emails and IP addresses, like the holy grail for us.
Right.
Web3, it's wallet addresses. So I want to start collecting as many wallet addresses as possible that hold that digital collectible, because then if I have their wallet, I can send them things. I can that's where you heard the term airdrop. You can airdrop them things, but it's really cool. Like if I can get a digital collectible of a local artist in a beautiful landscape, I own the non-commercial IP to that. I can go to a printer and get, that NFT printed, and I can put on my wall as a print.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where my head is right now from the basic, foundation of like how NFTs can be implemented into my business. Now, then we can take it to the next level and utilize them as like an act for access. So I think the next big use of NFTs will be in events, turning the ticket of an event into an NFT. And then that NFT ticket can be easily transferred and sold in different marketplaces. And the cool thing is that when you convert, a Web2 ticket into a Web3 ticket, as long as the marketplace has access to that contract that holds that ticket, it can be listed anywhere. There's no like going to getting an agreement from this OTA or this OTA or this reseller. As long as they have access to that contract will state what the terms are. And then the marketplace can either, sell it or not. And there's not all these different, signatures and documents and approvals needed or red tape. It's just, that's the beauty of like Web3, is decentralized. So no one is really controlling anything specifically. So, I mean, even like when I buy a ticket to an event and I want to resell it, it's not easy. Like there's some marketplaces for reselling event tickets that you can get on, but it's, for the most part, it's still hard to track. Like I still think it's a pain point in our industry where Web3 and if it's non-fungible, they can't duplicate it. So, if it's not on the blockchain, it's not confirmed on there, then it's not going to be valid.
Yeah, I mean, I think there should be a big play there for events, especially with, the scams that you get in tickets nowadays. I mean, that should solve some of it, or at least help with, event organizers when they're trying to prevent that. But it's interesting. I'm excited to see where it goes. And I'm glad that you're at the forefront so that you can keep us filled in on the details.
Yeah. Yeah.
We may need another refresher course here through the course of the year, but
yeah.
Yeah. So my advice to anyone that's thinking on getting into it is to get a wallet. You can go to your iPhone app store, download MetaMask. It's an Ethereum wallet.
Yeah.
And get Ethereum in that wallet by you can buy in Coinbase. People use Coinbase a lot. and transfer the Coinbase Ethereum from Coinbase into your MetaMask wallet. You have a true decentralized wallet with MetaMask, and do something with it, like buy a cheap NFT just to see how the process works. You can actually buy your own ETH domain. And I guess, Alex, this is a good point to talk about. You can actually change. So your wallet address is comprised of like a tons of letters and numbers. You can get that wallet address changed to a address of your choosing. So if you wanted alexhusner.eth, you can do that. And I believe that ETH is like the founding or the building blocks of the future. Like, I think Web3 will be heavily utilized with Ethereum, and it doesn't cost much to get your domain. If you're a company, and you know how it is, like with GoDaddy. Alex went through this with Condo World, like with the domain name, right? Take a couple $100, get some Ethereum, go to the ENS domains and reserve your name right now.
Yeah.
Whatever
absolutely.
names, like I reserved TripShock.eth like months ago, because what's happening is these people are doing what happened, 15, 20 years ago. Right. They're buying up every brand name, every destination name. They're buying hundreds and hundreds of these .eth domain names, and they're going to sell them back to you for 100 times what they paid.
Yeah, listen to that, everybody. That's a key takeaway from this. And when you posted that on LinkedIn, I did it immediately, because you're really good at spotting these things that you need to do is related to domains. And we go back and forth on all those stories. But I think that's definitely great advice for all of our listeners to do.
So crazy. I'm okay. My head is about to explode here.
We'll put it in the show notes.
I have bought Bitcoin and Ethereum Plus, or I don't know, there was all these other ones, but so much stuff. I think we could have a whole episode devoted to this. And so I think, Greg, we'll have you back in like 6 months to see if Alex and I have figured it out and can talk clearly about it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it'd be great to get Simon Lehman on a podcast with Greg here too, because when he's involved with D-Travel over in Europe, which is like the largest blockchain company for travel, I believe, over there. So he's got some great information on that, but we're interested to watch it and see it come more into fruition. But we appreciate you being here so much today, Greg. And I think this was great to hear more about what your journey has been and share that with our audience. And then also, just, where it's going in the future and where TripShock is going to go to. So we're very thankful for your coming today, and we look forward to talking to you again soon. If our audience wants to contact you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, the easiest way is LinkedIn. Is just search for me, Greg Fisher, and just let's connect and chat. I'm not going to give you my Twitter name. You can go online and figure it out, because that's like my NFT. So what I do is I separate all my social profiles. So like Twitter is like my NFT crypto, stuff. And then LinkedIn is my like travel professional stuff. Instagram is like just personal, things I like. So I have to change it all up, because what I find is that if I talk about other things, like on like LinkedIn, if I talk too much about like crypto, then people just start like not engaging with it. And if I talk about non-crypto things on Twitter, then people stop engaging and don't follow. So but
that's a good point. That's a valid.
That's a valid.
Yeah.
But I keep all my personas and different. But LinkedIn definitely is the best spot. Hit me up. I'd love to connect with your listeners.
Awesome. Well, we will include your link to your LinkedIn page on the show notes. But thank you again, Greg.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.